My home line, with koto to everybody. Welcome to this second meeting of the Cromwell Community Board for 2024. Happy to have a nice packed public gallery, and of course we've got two members of the public speaking in our public forum today. We have no apologies for our meeting today. Nice to have the full board around the table. We've had lots of illness and things that have taken things way over the last little while, so it's great to have the whole team here today. So initially, I would like to invite David George to come and address the board, please. Welcome, David.
Table this, and I'd like members to have a couple, please.
Certainly.
I haven't got time to actually read my report. It's 2 pages, so I'm just going to speak. That's a sort of a sum of the research on the time county proposal I've done. In contact with James Zane. I'm a follower, a local historian after Dr. James Parcell, a local historian. Also included in that, Ritchie, who I know well, who I worked with as an historian when he was here as an archaeologist, and also Dr. Lloyd Carpenter. And Lloyd actually identified the Chinese business down the old main street of Cromwell, which is now underwater. Just what I'd like to say, I'd just like you to read the report in your own time. There's an anomaly there in that the Chinatown proposal has been proposed before, and the community board paid $5,000 to Patterson Pitts to draw up a plan for it, and that was turned down by council at the time. This present proposal, you guys have paid $9,000 for, based on the same plan, which we've turned down before. Now, if you guys had actually worked through the district council as a capital sum, and they had staff look at it, they would have picked out that anomaly, and then would have been just nipped in the bud, and we could have started. Definitely, we do need our Chinese pioneers to be remembered, but they need to be remembered in an honourable way. The Chinese camped down the riverbank. There was one grave down there and possibly more cemetery, the headstones in the museum. Why it's in the museum, you might ask. Why wasn't the body interred? It's now in the water, and the other graves interred. They weren't. I'm a local historian, born and brought up here. I was a member of the local historical society, the youngest member. There's only 3 of us left. I'm the only active member left. But I had all the information, not only from our local historical society, but from our local Chinese descendants, of which there are quite a number. And I'm not speaking on their behalf, but I'm just speaking from information that I have. The site that they're planning to resurrect, Neville Ritchie said that an archaeological site is not an item, it's worth nothing. What the proposal I put up is a real site. It's in a strategic position, it is flat, and that's something I think that should be considered. Now, what I'd like, since possibly 2 of you here sit with the local museum and also sit with the body Cromwell Districts Society that proposing this, that maybe you guys can get together and set up a proper meeting where people can meet face to face and discuss this properly and come up with a decent plan that's a credit to our community. Thank you.
Any questions for David?
Just for clarification, my understanding, Madam Chairman, was that we made a grant of $9,000 towards site survey drawings and resource consents for that project. Nothing more than that.
I would impose source consent under present conditions very strongly. So in my view, you're wasting your time with that money. It's not the only thing I only read out too. I'll bring that up at some other time.
I'd like to invite Vernon Murray to come and speak next. Thanks. Welcome, Vernon.
Hi, good afternoon. It's quite familiar. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Vernon Murray. I'm a former member of the Cromwell Community Board, and I thought I was cured and a reformed politician, but here I am. And look, I'm just here to speak to your submission that you made, with regard to the defamation. And I'm also here I was urged by members of the community, past elected members, to say the shortest straw, I suppose. And so that's really why I'm here. And look, I'll summarise as quickly as I can. I've had to get my head around a lot of the stuff I thought I knew a lot when I was on it, but there was a lot for me to learn since the last meeting that you guys had. People sort of started grumbling to me, and I sort of looked at the agenda. Anyway, so I've written this down. I was never really a very good off-the-cuff speaker, so I'm going to be with me. I'm just going to read through my notes, and I'll take some questions. So there's a few things I'd like to touch on. The first being history. In terms of the history, just two aspects that come to mind for me, and the heading I've got there is communities of interest. So on the 13th of June in 1989, a newspaper headline read, Cromwell Borough lost its right to be included in the Queenstown District Council last night. Now, I've often heard that was the case, and I just thought it was a rumour, but the reason for that was around this community of interest. So at the time, the people who lived in Cromwell knew there was going to be a dam, they figured they'd be on a lake, and they felt they identified with the Upper Clutha and the other communities on a lake. And the other so this was 1989, and if you sort of roll back just a little bit to the start of the 1980s, under the little heading I've got dam assets. The Clyde Dam came about as a result of an Act of Parliament being the Clutha Development Clyde Dam Empowering Act of 1982. The Cromwell Borough in 1981 had taken out a large loan with the Crown in order to pay for infrastructure assets and land to rebuild the town before it was flooded, because it was going to be flooded. The loan was being paid back to the Crown at a special rate on top of the usual town rates. The total rates, in addition, was somewhere between 20 and 25%. And Cromwell worked hard for those assets, and they didn't want to give those assets up. So you've got this communities of interest, the dam and the assets. With all of that in mind, when it became to the amalgamations in 1989, in order to appease the Cromwell Borough Council and to sweeten the deal, the government inserted a clause into the final draft of the amalgamation deal when CODC was formed. That deal with the special circumstances of forming. The new clause stated that the new district council could establish a committee to negotiate with the Crown on managing and disposing of Crown assets. It also stated that the new district council must consult with the Cromwell Community Board when considering matters referred to it under a memorandum of understanding dated 11 May 1989. The MOU was signed between the Cromwell Borough Council and the Crown. So the amalgamation deal, the MOU, the Clyde Dam Empowering Act, resulted in a long-standing practice of the Cromwell Community Board having delegated authority that is potentially now under threat, which grants the CCB control over the acquisition, disposal of land, and the use of funds raised for the benefit of the Cromwell community. So that's in a nutshell a sort of crash course in history, and I did manage to dig up this very old truth about.
What about in Vincent County? We were here too. Think of us out there in the wilderness. We got no agreement with the Crown.
David, it is Verna's time to speak. Thank you.
I do.
Get some more history.
I do. Yes, history. Thank you. Why the delegations were sent. The genesis of the assets, property and other assets that are currently under the effective control of the CCB by delegated authority is rooted in this history. Because of the aforementioned contracts between the Crown and the Cromwell Borough Council in 1981, and also due to the endowment land which was vested land by the Crown when the town of Cromwell was established to be used for the benefit of Cromwell. The residents for responsible development of Cromwell, which is effectively a ratepayer organisation established something you might call Plan Change 13. Some of those members have spent a considerable amount of time interviewing previously elected councillors to corroborate historical accounts over the past 2 weeks. From these testimonials, it can be established that the delegated authority was negotiated by the Cromwell Borough Council members during the forced amalgamation with Alexandra during the Alworthy local government reforms. It can also be stated that it was created as a result of a memorandum of understanding between the Crown and the Borough Council in recognition of the special circumstances of Cromwell due to the construction of the Fight Dam. The more these issues are examined, the more it becomes apparent that there are valid reasons for the creation of the delegated authority and why it has persisted and should continue to persist. The proposed removal of the delegated authority would remove control of these assets from Cromwell. The proposed removal negates all the hard work that successive community boards have done in building these assets up and managing them carefully for the benefit of the Cromwell community. There is a direct line between the original control vested with the CREC and where we are today without the special circumstances of the CCP. We would be like any other community board in New Zealand without effective control over the assets which can benefit from them. The delegated authority.
You need to wrap it up.
Sorry, the delegated authority is long-standing policy that has worked well for over 35 years, providing for and ensuring ongoing benefits for the community. It has remained in its original form since the source of these assets have been acknowledged. I'm grateful to see that the CCB, along with many others, strongly oppose removal of delegated authority without the appropriate analysis, reporting and consultation that is required for the significant of changing these delegations.
Thank you, Bernard. Has anyone got questions?
Go back to your history book, mate.
Has anyone got questions for Bernard around the table, please?
Verna mentioned a memorandum of understanding between the Crown and the Cromwell Borough. Just trying to work out the relevance of an agreement between the Crown and the Borough and how that connects to the Central Potato District Council.
Yep, I'm still just trying to figure that out. That memorandum is in a locker that we've requested but haven't seen yet. Yep. So that.
So you don't know how it connects?
Other than from a newspaper that we can Yep, so I haven't, I'm assuming it's like a contract service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Obviously, in our statement of position to the council, one of the things that we had said was stated was the length of time that we had in order to gather information and to put things together as a board was really limited, as being one of the reasons that we didn't do a formal submission and put a statement instead. We acknowledge that there are a lot of historical documents and a lot of probably anecdotal historical information that many community members and past elected members hold. Of course, finding that information and then making the connections to whether or not that's relevant today and whether they've been usurped over time with other documents is a big piece of work that the people sitting around this table probably don't necessarily have the skills, the funds or the time to establish. But we recognise that your group is working in the background to find that information. So thank you for coming and presenting today. Is there anybody else at the table who had anything that they wish to add or ask? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
David, you need to manage yourself in the public gallery, otherwise you will have to leave. Right, that takes us on to our agenda for today and takes us to page 7 and the confirmation of the minutes of the meeting of the Cromwell Community Board held on Tuesday the 23rd of January. It doesn't feel like very long ago because it wasn't very long ago that we previously met. A mover and a seconder for the minutes. Yep, thank you, Holly.
It's a very short summary of what was discussed in that meeting. So in the interest of that, I think we could either revise that to include everything that was discussed or reduce the level of detail in it. So it's just a, if anyone else thinks like that, that's fine. But I just thought I'd raise that. The discussion on that matter was a bit longer than eight or 9 lines.
Only observation I make is that having a summary, for want of a better word, of what might have been discussed in general terms is better than what used to be there, which was nothing. It's more helpful than nothing. That's a fine line between how far you go, and I guess we get the opportunity to add to it if we want to. We could make it whatever we wanted to, but I think it's my view says it's generally fine the way it is, but if there's something missing, that should be important to record, then that's what we should resolve it. That's our call at the end of the day.
Is there anything significant that you discussed that is not captured in there? Because at that point, that is what we decided.
I'm just concerned it looks like we accepted the report and moved on without questioning it up front. To one where just my view. That's all.
I've got a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
That takes us to page 13 and the declarations of interest. And a reminder to members that should there be a conflict of interest or a perceived conflict of interest, that they should stand aside from discussion and decision making in that area. They're listed.
Madam Chair.
Yep.
Since that table was drawn up, I've actually been appointed as committee member of the Cromwell Football Club Incorporated. So I've asked for that to be inserted on the next meeting.
That has been updated.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bob, for voting that. Right. Then that takes us to the next item on page 16. That's this meeting in the history of the world.
I went faster, wasn't it?
I
I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of conversations and reading and emails and stuff regarding the delegation paper, but in terms of events in Cromwell and so forth, no, not since 2 weeks ago. It's my report, Madam Chair.
you.
The shortest time I've been there as well.
Mover and a seconder. Thank you, Mary and Cheryl, all in favour.
Aye.
So the chair's report will be of very similar length because it's been a very short amount of time since we last met. Really, I focused most of that time on the beginning of the school year, getting year 4s off on camp last week and 5 and 6s off on camp, as well as working with the board to put together a statement of position. My report, I'll move it. Seconder, Sarah. Favour. Members' reports. Bob, I'm going to start with you because I know you've got one.
Yeah. Yeah. I was hoping to bring this to the previous meeting, but unfortunately, of course, I wasn't here. So this is really about parking in Cromwell. Over the course of the holiday period from the 22nd of December till the 24th of January, I made 11 days. I made random sort of visits to parking areas in and around the Cromwell town centre. 2 visits each day with a minimum of 2 hours apart, just to check on overstaying in P120 spots, that's 2 hours, and also in the P10 spots. In the course of that, I actually made dozens and dozens of conversations with locals and visitors, and the majority of them were actually very supportive of what we were doing there. Mostly comments about time that we did something about it. We had a series of little reminder notices that we attached to cars that had overstayed or infringed in some other way. I actually issued a total of 241 of those notices. 167 of them were for parking over the 2-hour limit. 26 were for overstaying in a P10 period. 25 for parking on yellow lines or on the footpaths. And very disappointingly, 19 for parking in mobility parks without a permit, which I think I was particularly concerned about. It came to my notice really that there were three main areas of concern. Number one was the rear of the library here, just behind this building, where there were lots and lots of parking by locals, actually, because you come to recognise people's vehicles, so you know exactly who they are. Over the 120 limit, the cafe area in front of Fusée Rouge, which was constantly busy, vehicles circling around looking for parks, and lots of parking on yellow lines and on footpaths in that area. The area in front of Paper Plus, which was also constantly busy, with vehicles circling around looking for parks. That was the worst area for overstaying 2 hours. Mostly local business owners and workers, because again, you get to know the vehicles. There was one business that had 3 sign-written vehicles parked in this area for well over the 2-hour period. I also had a quick look at the Erris Street area down at the Heritage Precinct. And the interesting thing there was that there were quite a lot of, again, local businesses parking in that area. There also seems to be a problem there with the mobility park. Several people brought up to my attention that the one and only mobility park there is actually situated on an incredibly awkward angle. So actually getting in and out of that vehicles at that point is extremely difficult. And not only that, but people who emerge from a vehicle there are discharged right at the top of the steepest slope in the whole area. So I put a suggestion to the roading team that they actually move that to a flat area outside the Victoria Arms Park, for example, which would make a much more sensible place to have a mobility park. I've told today that this is all going to be followed up next week with a meeting to investigate where we go from here. So very worthwhile exercise, gave me a great opportunity to talk to the community and to discuss various topics as well as parking. That's my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Anyone got any questions for Bob? His parking features?
That was coming in, and she not wanting to throw any fuel on the Alexander Cromwell fire. They had nobody in Alex parking on the mobility, but everything else correlated pretty much with what it's definitely need to do something.
Be interested to know from this meeting or further reporting on it with what Bob found, what value of fines that equate to. Someone could run those numbers. And how commercially that sits with, paying someone to.
Paying someone to do it.
Perhaps I could just add to that. The interesting thing is that since I stopped doing this on whenever it was, the 24th of January, I've noticed that actually things during the course of that, the number of instances gradually reduced over the period. They've now gone back to exactly where they were beforehand. So
Realise you're not bothering.
that's right.
Did you go over to the car park opposite Nichols at all?
No.
Tempted.
But I have in the past. I mean, I've done a previous sort of report, if you like, and that car park is invariably less than half full.
It's under Lower Target Street, which we get maybe 40 parks. They have 7 people parked there all day. The warehouse car park, 5 minutes walk away was empty. It's just mind-boggling. I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Theo.
Awful lot, I'm afraid, much the same. I feel like we've been frantic. for 3 weeks. But I did attend the Year 4 camp that you very well organised. Bannockburn is a wonderful location to host some first-time campers, and it was remarked how lucky we are to not have to travel out of our district. So many people come here to camp, and we've got that on our doorstep. So they're very appreciative families and children.
And of course, I didn't organise it personally, Nicola.
No,
It was the
I'm just blowing
Little
sunshine.
family need for credit for that.
We are very well aware as parents attending camp. I just blowing sunshine for you. And no, Cromwell is a great place to holiday at home.
It's because without parent volunteers, that's
Dry opening.
You want to hear about the council meeting on the 31st of January?
Yep.
No, well, is that Cheryl's bag? No.
I'll leave Cheryl's stuff out for her.
No. Go for it.
So the water services operation and maintenance contract has been extended to June 25, while a procurement plan is worked on, and that'll come to the council meeting on the 20th of March. We received an update on the wastewater compliance. It's the regular report that comes to the council, which is going much better than it used to be. E-waste disposal collection service charges were confirmed for the Ikes and Cromwell transfer stations, so now you can take your e-waste and there's a schedule of fees and charges for people to dispose of that sort of stuff. We had a resolution that we were going to be sealing a portion of Cornish Point Road. That was done back in item 22.411, but that was rescinded. Deemed to be something that's required. We dealt with an objection to a road closure in the industrial area in Cromwell for the street sprints that are on, not this weekend, but next weekend, is it? Or is it this weekend? One of the two. It's not this one, it's the next one. But that was rejected, and those street sprints will go ahead as requested. The open spaces naming policy was approved. The economic development work plan was updated. If you get a chance to look at item 24.1.7 in the council agenda of last week, you should do it. It's worth a read. We amended our housing policy that the council has to enable for preferential purchase options for certain people. So that's why it's called preferential. We concluded and agreed to the pre-consultation document for the representation review, so that's out and about now. Certainly worth encouraging people to have their say. There was an amendment made to the rating policy just to clarify some corrections that needed to be done with that. We did the financial year FY23 carried over for OPEX and CAPEX. I'm up at here to that may have been in private, leave that, I think.
Thank you.
Otherwise, nothing else.
Otherwise, nothing else.
Well, plenty other else, but not relevant to this meeting.
Polly.
Yep, so in the last 2 weeks, there's been obviously plenty of chat about the delegations. I attended the Cromwell Business Network breakfast at Black Rabbit, but there was probably maybe 20 people there. So it was a good turnout. There was discussion on the delegations. It's a pertinent topic in Cromwell at the time. And then I did some supporting of the Spirited Woman event on Saturday, just been pretty well attended by people from all over the country. Some good local results. I couldn't help but think it'd be nice if we had a memorial hall we could be proud of to help out with registrations and prize givings and things like that.
Cheryl.
I don't really have anything to report. I do agree with Neil though. The economic development report that was presented at council was actually a really good read. So yeah, I don't really have anything to add. My first meeting was tonight.
I emailed Sarah my last. I had much back from COVID. Yeah, correct. Sarah. I just attended a few community events, including our workshop and health on social services, the community delegation from Nostell, so I'm going to sound that.
Can I have a mover and a seconder for those members' reports, please? Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Wally. All in favour?
Aye.
Okay, that takes us to page 19 and governance report. So parking income,
Yeah, would be approximately $7,000.
Without the information one.
No, that's that's just revenue collectors. The fund was revenue collectors.
I bet it does fine.
That is across both plans.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. That's,
$7,000.
yeah, across both what?
Across Alexander Commons.
Oh, right.
Double check.
Numbers.
Well, like I observed, it's people leaving as though it's going to be a law of diminishing returns. If you get the result you want, your financial burden is going to increase. It's a,
Yeah,
It's never a cost making,
yeah.
it's never a revenue making exercise.
That's strange, isn't it?
Saying that the cost of correcting behaviours is more than the revenue you generate from doing it.
Yeah.
And you think people, you'd hope that the ratepayers of this district would understand that and just simply do what they're supposed to do in the first place. I don't know how else we do it. It's not hard.
So the status reports on page 19. Note,
Can I ask a question through the chair of Wally, actually? One of the items on the status reports is allocating $4,000 to Dead Sweat events for promotion of that event. Do you know what the sort of attendance was and the participation numbers?
I heard there was 1,300, but I don't know. Well, it's
Just out of interest, sorry.
easily over 1,000.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not just that, it's the support crews that come as well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
They confirmed Friday is the location for next year as well.
Yeah,
So it stays in central again.
this area is really punching above its weight for a national event.
Yeah.
I had over a seconder for those, for the governance report, please.
I'll move.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Cheryl. All in favour?
Like,
Next, we have our resolution to exclude the public on page number.
Mhm.
Page number 30. To discuss matters.
The date of the next meeting.
Our date of the next meeting. Tuesday, the 2nd of April.
So Tuesday after Easter.
Yeah, that's the one that's school holiday.
Tuesday, yeah.
It's lazy about the teachers on next day off. Sounds got their holiday there, like they're clever. Have a look at the time.
That is when it is at the moment. We can check people's availability if you are taking that day.
I'm here.
we know it's on.
Hmm?
We know it's on.
And it's on Tuesday. It's supposed to be. There's nothing. Yeah, and up on a Friday. It's not.
All right, and then the resolution to exclude public. Favors for that, please. Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Bob. All in favour? All right.
Excellent.
Let's do that. I'm taking a quick loose.